What up, Bay Area and all across the 7 seas of Niner Nation? This is our 49er podcast, which means it is not mine, it is not yours, but it is interactive. So be sure to hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube and be a part of the show. As always, I am Adam, and joining me is the world famous Raj. What is up, man? How are you feeling about this new show?
What's up, man? I'm excited. It's a new season, new show. We got a lot of things to, kind of be hyped about. Not just, this show. This is fun. Another way for us to kind of give the fans great Niner content. But the season's around the corner, and I'm damn excited. So let's get to it.
For sure. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So we have a couple topics that, to be honest, are a little bit more on the silly side. But some of this stuff gets traction, and some of the fan base can get a little worrisome over things that they just don't need to be. So let's just clear the air. Let's talk about the silliness. The first story I wanted to talk about is, we're all excited. We gave up, some people would say a lot, for our quarterback, Trey Lance. And there was talk about that he may not be ready to go. Tell us. I see you're kind of already rolling your eyes, and I'm with you, but talk about what happened.
Yeah, man. So these last couple months is the off season. People don't have anything to talk about. There's no news, so people got to make news. This is the way I would see. Sports media. I've followed it for many years. I've been in it now. Covering this team and doing social media. There gets to a point where people are like, okay, what are the trending topics? Okay, Trey Lance is a polarizing topic because the quarterback controversy, as you must say, I guess, in the 49ers locker room since last year. They had Jimmy Garoppolo, they traded a quarterback, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, who's going to be the quarterback? Quarterback one. All that drama happened, so that was a big topic. Now this year, flash forward a year later, Jimmy's still on the team. He had the shoulder surgery, so it's still a trending topic. So what the media does is they pick these trending topics, and then they go out and attack it. And if you take it from a negative view, you're going to get a lot of views and likes and clicks, more engaging content, whether it's good comments or not. That's what the media does, and they know it. They know it works. They got shows to, do like us. They're talking about stuff just like us, and they like to put their opinions out there. So recently, there's been these arm fatigue report. To me, that is the most balderdash, most ridiculous statement that you could. Come on, this is not baseball. I'm a physical therapist, so this whole arm fatigue thing. When I heard it, I was like, "What are you even talking about?" I haven't heard of any other quarterback in the league. They never talked about this arm fatigue. And I read further into it. I watched some more of the podcast. Colin Cowherd and Mike Silver. I was surprised because
Yeah,
he's kind of a
he's
Bay guy.
respectable. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Colin Cowherd switches his opinions like I switch shirts, so I'm
Yeah.
not. I take what he says with a grain of salt sometimes. But they're going, "Oh yeah, you heard about this arm fatigue stuff?" Like it's coming out of the locker room, coming out of the coaching staff. So they're saying that he changed his arm mechanics, and now his arm gets tired after practice, and he can't throw the next. That is the most preposterous thing I've heard. To me, it's just silly. They just want to make up these stories because there's been so many quarterbacks through the history of the NFL that have changed their arm mechanics, and he's 22 years
Yeah,
old. You
dude.
really think his arm is getting fatigued from practicing? He throws what, maybe 40 to 50 passes in practice. In a game, he might throw 20 to 30. It's not like his arm's getting fatigued. Yeah, I'm sure he's probably getting some soreness. Every quarterback does. But if you're in baseball and you're throwing 100 miles an hour and you're throwing repetitively, 50 times, 100 times, yeah, you might get some arm fatigue. That's a whole different story. But this arm fitness, this arm fatigue, people are just rolling with it because it's something to talk about in the media. Honestly, to me, it's silly, and I feel like every analyst, not every, because there has been some positive takes, but a lot of analysts just want to see the downfall of Trey Lance. And I feel like every year we're sitting here talking about negative publicity on the 49ers. Like it's always like just bad. Oh, the Niners aren't going to live up to the hype. Oh, the Niners are bad. They're the 20th best team, and then we always prove them wrong for the most part, unless we have a whole team that's injured. But that's just the vibe every offseason. I'm used to it. Trey Lance, I cannot wait for him to just silence all his critics. I want him to come out this year and dominate because I will have a pile of receipts that I'm going to pull, and it's going to be fun. That's my
Yeah.
thing.
Hashtag keep them receipts, bruh. Yeah,
Yes,
for
sir.
sure. So it is silly. Please do not take stock in that. And there's another story that's gotten some traction that I wanted to cover now, and I wanted to back up first. So all right, so we're talking Jimmy G and we're talking Tom Brady, and they as you know, used to be teammates at New England. And then Jimmy G gets to the 49ers and makes an immediate impact. And there's not one Jimmy hater that can deny that he made that positive impact at first right away. Okay, now there's the season where Tom Brady heads to Tampa, and there was talk and rumblings that he had said, "Man, you're going with this dude," and that there's talks
Yeah.
that he meant Jimmy G because he knows Jimmy G. He's seen him in practice. He sees what he can do and what he can't do. So I'm just giving us the backstory, right? So there's that going on. There's that dynamic. And now there's talk of Tom Brady's new team, which, first of all, you talk about arm fatigue. It would be believable if maybe Tom Brady, who's older than both of us, but
Yeah.
so, all right, so let's go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There is talk that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go to Tampa Bay. And I see you again kind of rolling your eyes. And so let's get into that. What do you think of that story?
So that story to me, one of the big things of the off season I've learned over the years is we call it smoke season, and we call it smoke season for a reason because people are just going to be huffing and puffing a lot of smoke, a lot of rumor. It's rumors, because people want to, again, going back to the whole story of it's the media and they need something to write about, they need something to talk about, and then people are talking about Jimmy G to Tampa Bay. That's interesting. Just like you, we just have this whole you know wrote up, talked about that whole story off the cuff right there about the backup of Jimmy Garoppolo was the backup, and then years later, oh, I don't want to play with that guy. That whole thing. Like, we're talking about it, whether we like to admit it or not. We're talking about it. The media knows what they're doing. They know how to get people talking about these topics. But the source, Dan Sileo, he comes out and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. Jimmy's going to Tampa Bay." Everybody has these rumors every offseason. To figure out which one really is credible or not is the big thing. You got to know the sources. You got to see who they're pulling. A lot of people might have sources, but sometimes is their source credible? Like, I could sit here and tell you, "Oh, I got a source. I heard this and that," but is my source really credible? And sometimes I might have a good credible source, but who the hell am I compared to like Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport, right? So I might not hold much weight. So a lot of these guys in the media want to get their name out there, and if they nail this, oh man, they're gonna get so much notoriety, and credibility from it. So I feel like that's part of it. But to get to it, I mean, we'll entertain it. It's not gonna happen. I mean, it's just crazy. Because first off,
Well, that was
Jimmy
that
has.
was quick. That was easy.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I haven't seen Jimmy throw. You haven't seen Jimmy throw. The media hasn't really seen Jimmy throw. Maybe he has. Dan Celio says he started throwing a couple weeks ago. Maybe he did because he says he's close to Jimmy's agent. Maybe he is. I don't know. I don't know. His day to day interactions. Maybe he's telling the truth that Jimmy started throwing, but nobody's seen it, right? We haven't seen any video evidence of it. And if we want to talk about arm fatigue, I bet you Jimmy Garoppolo has more arm fatigue than Trey Lance right now, coming off of shoulder
Hello.
surgery. Like, hello, that is something that the media needs to talk about a little bit. Is Jimmy's shoulder okay? Is his arm okay after rehabbing and throwing out there? That is going to be a real arm fatigue story to follow. I'm going to tell you that as a therapist, that might be more of a realistic arm fatigue story than Trey Lance. But
No,
hey, I'm
no
getting
question.
past.
Now,
Yeah,
let me
past.
ask you this though, because let's talk real quick about the idea of needing Jimmy to be healthy in order to move him. And if that is an issue, you talk about arm fatigue. We do not want him to have arm fatigue, do we?
Yeah, exactly. No, not only that. That's the whole point. Is if this guy's shoulder sore or if he's still not 100% throwing the ball, no team's going to really want to take. Because if they take him, they might have an emergency or they might need a starter, or something, or a bridge guy. And if he's not ready to go, why are they going to pay him the money for him to sit on the bench like he would in the Niners? They're like, all right, you guys can keep it, figure out what you're going to do with them. And ultimately, and I've said this all off season, I know a lot of people don't agree with it. It's not what I think they should do. I've been on the record to say a lot of other stuff, but I think they're going to ultimately keep him because I don't think anybody's going to offer them enough that the Niners want, or they may not offer him at all because of the whole shoulder surgery. It's been, it's close to camp. Most teams already figured out their situation, their quarterback situations, already going into camp in a whether it be in a competition or, straight out, we have a quarterback right now. There's a few teams that might have a little competition, but unless one of those teams has a like serious emergency in the next couple weeks, I don't think it's going to happen. And not only that, the money. Jimmy Garoppolo's contract's very high. Now the Browns, I know they traded Baker, but they're paying part of his contract, and they got a lot of ability to just write him off. They were like, okay, we'll pay some of that contract. The Niners are not going to pay any portion of Jimmy's contract so they can trade him. If they're going to pay him any bit, they're going to might as well keep him because
Right.
I feel like Kyle has told us this all off season. Like, we budgeted, we're going to keep him. We still think he's going to be part of the team. I know it's kind of crazy because at the end of the season, Jimmy was sitting there telling us farewell. It's been great. Thanks for the memories. And now we're sitting here saying, well, crap, he's going to be backup quarterback. He's going to be an expensive backup. But in Kyle's system, over the years, injuries happen a lot. And God forbid anything happens to Trey Lance. I hope nothing happens. But if he did get hurt, I think Kyle Shanahan would be happier to have Jimmy as a backup than Brock Purdy or anybody else, and
Right.
not a shot to any or Nate Sudfeld. It's not a shot to those quarterbacks. It's just matter of fact. Jimmy Garoppolo has won games with the Niners. The team likes him, and honestly, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, there's going to be a lot of uh, turmoil in the locker room." I don't think so. Trey's a smart guy. He's a very humble guy, and he's already won the locker room over during the OTAs, minicamp. He's come in. Jimmy hasn't been there, and he's had that opportunity to say, "Hey, look, I'm your guy. Listen to me. Look me in the eyes." And I think he's really winning over that locker room, and he's going to continue to do that during training camp later this month. And Jimmy Garoppolo's going to be, probably doing more rehab stuff, because he's just going to be working on throwing. I don't know how much they're going to put him into that lineup during training camp when the pads come on and preseason. They still want to protect him because if they throw him out there and then he gets hurt, they're really not going to be able to move him. So
Right.
that's the way I see it. I don't see the Tampa Bay thing having any weight to it. I really don't think that whole story is viable. But again, it's the off season. People bring these topics up, and it's fun to talk about, and that's what the media is all about. Give us things to talk about because if you don't have these things to talk about, as crazy as some of these stories are, it would be a very, very uninteresting off season.
No, no question. So let's get off the off season and let's get into the season and talk about what I would say are there are some obvious X factors and thoughts come to mind from last year are our DB situation. There was a lot of times where we had said and we as Niner Nation coming together saying if our DBs wouldn't have had the pass interference calls, if our DBs haven't given up the deep ball, if our DBs would catch an interception that was in their breadbasket, if our DBs would. So we know that that's an X factor. We don't necessarily have to discuss that. We know the maturation of Trey Lance is an X factor. That doesn't need to be said. Other than, special teams, we're pretty decent. We're not the Green Bay Packers. We don't have strong, glaring issues there. So, Raj, having said all that, besides that, what are some X factors that you see for the season this year?
All right, there's a couple. Before I get into that, I will say this secondary is just so much better this season, and I can't wait to see Charvarius Ward first and
Oh my
foremost.
gosh.
And a healthy Jason Verrett will be icing on the cake. But getting into the X factors, honestly, it's the offensive line. There was a lot of change this offseason. A lot of people are worried. I was on Instagram Live, and I've been talking to people, and kind of the pulse of the fan base is O line. There, a lot of people are worried. Is the O line going to be okay? We, of course, lost Lake and Tomlinson. They couldn't afford to keep him. A guy got a big time contract with the Jets, well deserved. Man, this guy was a castaway from the Lions, a former first round pick. They cast him away. People put a bust label on him. I think the Niners got like a fifth or sixth round pick for him, or they sent a fifth or sixth round pick for him, and he became a Pro Bowl left guard. Not only that, he was the most durable player we've had on this team, which is tough because players on our team get hurt a lot, unfortunately, because they're so
Yeah.
physical. They run the ball a lot. And it's crazy that he only missed one game, and it was a game he missed because of a wardrobe malfunction, if you want to call it, like a shoe issue, cleat issue. This guy was so good for us. I'm going to miss Victory Donuts. So that's the next factor to me. Is Aaron Banks, the second round pick from last year, going to be good enough? Is he going to be able to come in and step in and hold his weight up there? A lot of people got a lot of questions about Aaron Banks. He was injured last year. They took him in the second round. People wanted other players to be drafted in that spot. Asante Samuel, and we could sit here and list all the names. But hey, a lot of pressure on Aaron Banks. He's a young kid. I think he has talent, but there will be pressure. Now, and on the other side, who's going to be right guard? Is it going to be Dan Brunskill? Is it going to be Jalen Moore? Is it going to be one of the other guards that they drafted in the draft? They did take some big boys in the draft with some talent. There's a lot of
Yeah.
undrafted guys. And then you got center. Alex Mack retired. He was a phenomenal player, probably a future Hall of Famer, right? I don't know about first ballot, but he'll definitely be a future Hall of Famer. You take away a guy like that, that's stability in the locker room and on the field, and a guy that can really help Trey Lance, right? Like a veteran like that would really help him and communicate. And on game day, you need to have a solid center because that snap is the first part of every offensive play, the center, the quarterback snap, and that's important. And you have to have stability there. So is Jake Brendel going to be that guy? Right now, it looks like he's the guy. How well is Jake Brendel going to be? He hasn't really been a starter through his career. He's a career journeyman. And then you got the right tackle side. Mike McGlinchey last year, big injury, torn quad. Hopefully he could come back and have a good season because this is also a contract year, so you would expect him to play to a high level to get money. But he's coming off a massive injury. If he plays too hard, he runs the risk of re-injuring himself. So it is a very, very tough position for this O line. I think they have solid talent. If they run the ball effectively, I think it can help. Do what they have to do because it's a run zone offensive line, and then again, the run is the first thing in this offense. And if they can protect the run, everything else will develop. Trey's mobility will help them because he can escape. Give him a few seconds to buy some time, and then the threat of the run from Trey, the defense is going to come in. They're going to press in, and oh wow, open receivers. And if he can kind of get everything down, you know, figure out the defense, know when he has to run, give the offensive line a little bit of time, I think they'll be okay. But that is a major X factor. The offensive line has to protect Trey because he's a young quarterback and you don't want him on his back. Your quarterback can't be doing anything when he's on his back. So that is a major X factor to me. Other than that, health. I mean, it's always the X factor, right? Can this team stay healthy? If they can, I mean, I know we have really good backups, but you want to have the best of the best. You want your best players. You want all your starters there. You don't want to get hurt. 2020, the COVID season, I mean, that was ugly. We lost so many players. You just saw we still were competing. We still won a handful of games. I can't even believe we won some of those games. With the only
Right.
a patchwork team. Nick Bosa was out, and so many other players got hurt through the year. So health is definitely an X factor. Um, and other than that, honestly, I really feel the biggest X factor is going to be this running back room because we are a run first team, and there are expectations. Trey Sermon last year didn't live up to expectations as a rookie, but can he step up year two? They brought in Anthony Lynn. He's a solid former head coach. He's a big time proponent of the run game. Can he elevate his game? You got Ty Davis Price. I like him. Can he step into the role? Elijah Mitchell set the all-time Niner rookie rushing record last year. He missed
Yeah.
several games. If he could stay healthy, this guy could get like 1,300 yards running. So that backfield has to stay healthy. Jeff Wilson Jr. last year pretty much missed the most of the season because of injuries. Can he stay healthy? So if that running back room can stay healthy, I think the offense will do fine because you got other players that are going to be able to elevate and do the yak ability. You got Ayuk, I think Jennings, who will take a big leap this year. And then kind of an X factor. Debo Samuel, I guess we could say he's an X factor. Is he going to sign his contract soon? We don't know, man. It's been a whole
What's
offseason.
going on? I thought you were going to tell us.
I think he's signing soon. I mean, we got 2 more weeks till training camp. Typically, the Niners around this time is when they kind of get that contract going. So hopefully, the next time we have a little interview session here, a little podcast session here, we'll be talking about breaking news: Debo Samuel has signed a contract. So that is an X factor in
Let's go.
itself, but I think
For
it can
sure.
happen. But overall, to me, the biggest X factor is the O line.
Yep. No, definitely agreed. And because Shanahan's system, it reminds me, it's actually funny. It reminds me of his dad
Mm-hmm.
because you had 6 running backs that I can name from the Denver Broncos that had success, and you just plug and play, plug and play. And the Niners are set up that way. Now, it helps if you have above average running backs, and I do think Mitchell isn't above average, and he has shown what he can do. But to your point, you cannot say enough about the offensive line because of the way our offense is built. So, having said that, is there any one of these new guys coming in? And I have a list here that I want to go over with you. So, I'm gonna read some names off here to you, and I want you to tell me what name kind of jumps off the page? Like, you know what? I'm really interested in seeing what this dude can do for us. So I want to start with Spencer Burford, offensive lineman from Texas San Antonio. Tariq Castro Fields, DB from Penn State, which Penn State is going to be the school with the most notoriety of all these schools, which is interesting. Clea Davis is a defensive lineman out of Central Florida. Tyron Davis Price out of Louisiana State. Danny Gray, wide receiver from Southern Methodist. Drake Jackson, another D lineman, big boy, 6'4", from Southern California. Brock Purdy, we know, we've kind of talked about him. I live in Iowa State country area, so I've seen Brock Purdy play. Samuel Womack III, another DB from Toledo, and then another big boy, man, 6'6", 316 out of Fordham, Nick Zykel. So what out of those names, who are you excited about? What can you tell us about some of these guys, these new guys to our team?
Yeah, I love the rookie class we had. Honestly, I think all of them can bring something to the table. The Niners typically draft well. They find late round gems. Over the years they've lost players, but they've been able to develop guys to take their steps. So I feel like a lot of these guys may, in a couple of years, be a big time part of this team, and a lot of undrafted guys that we haven't talked about might have a big role on this team because look at the players they have on the roster right now. Aziz Al Shahir, he's undrafted. Manny Mosley, he was undrafted. A couple years back they had Kendrick Bourne. He was undrafted. So they do a good job of developing these guys. But as far as the draftees, I like Spencer Buford. Like I think he's going to be a solid lineman. If he plays on that left side and he has Trent Williams with him, that could be special. But I don't know if he's going to be that
Right,
left side because you got Aaron Banks. So that's kind of my thinking of Aaron Banks is he's going to be playing right next to Trent Williams. I don't think Trent Williams is going to let him fail. But I really like Spencer. I think this kid, he's a big boy. He's been training with Trent this offseason. I think that's great for him. Get that, chemistry on the line going, learning from the best of the best. Mr. 99, Trent Williams. Let's give some respect to Trent Williams, getting that 99 overall on Madden. Like, he's training these younger guys. Nick Zakel, I think he could be the future center. If Jake Brendel doesn't pan out, this guy is very smart. I think they took him with the thinking of he might be our future long term center. So if Jake Brendel, he's the veteran this year, they're going to give him a shot. But if Nick Zakel can, develop and become the guy I think they think he's going to be, he's our future center moving forward. I don't know how good Jake Brendel's going to be. Maybe he'll be very good and play himself to a big contract somewhere else, or with the team for another 2 years. But that still gives him time to develop that Nick Zakel guy. I like his smartness. He's got a very good football IQ from what I've kind of seen and heard. Sam Womack, keep a flyer out on him on training camp. I was told I was talking to Larry Kruger, and he said, "Man, Womack just looks very, very impressive this so far in OTAs and stuff." Again, the pads haven't come on, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But Womack could be the
sure.
Kwan Williams. Like he's got the size, the same type of game features. He's got a very similar skill set to Kwan Williams. I think he could be that next slot corner that the Niners are looking for. As far as the two players with the most impact from those rookies, I mean, obviously Drake Jackson and Danny Gray. Danny Gray's speed, game breaking speed. Okay, you got Debo, you got Ayuk, you got Jennings, you got Kittle. All these guys. Let's say you go and you have a pass play. Danny Gray's on the field. Who the hell's covering him? If everybody's got to
Right,
double team all these other guys, who's covering Danny Gray? He's going to be wide open. Trade a Gray for 70 yards and a tutty as long as his hands are okay. So, I mean,
right,
Gray,
right.
man, the speed he has is unbelievable. It's crazy. Like I think he could be an immediate X factor. And then on Drake Jackson on the other side of the ball, like this is the perfect guy that they needed to help Nick Bosa. Like they have a solid D line. They have good rotational players like Samson Ebukam, Omenahu, Kerry Hyder. Like those guys are going to really help, keep each other's legs fresh. But if Drake Jackson starts developing, Chris Kasura gets his hands on him and starts molding him to the guy he can be. Imagine you have two Pro Bowl type defensive ends, Drake Jackson and Nick Bosa, crashing at a quarterback. That's scary. The future is amazing when Drake Jackson finally hits his peak. Rookie season, maybe he'll have like 6, 7 sacks. But I think if he could become this monster of a pass rusher, you have basically what they envisioned with D Ford and Nick Bosa. But of course, D Ford couldn't stay healthy. Drake Jackson could be the guy that we wanted D Ford to be if a healthy version, and that is scary to think. So I think Drake Jackson can be a massive X factor on the defensive side of the ball. Can you imagine if you have two dominant pass rushers coming at you from each side? and you're a quarterback playing the Niners, you're just going to say, hey, you know what? My arm, I don't want to play this team this week, you know? So,
Yeah. And we got good value. I mean, 6'4", 273. He was drafted 61st
yeah,
overall, second rounder, and he registered in 3 years 103 tackles, 25 tackles for loss, two interceptions, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. I mean, this guy can play. There is no, this isn't like we're taking on a project. We're taking on, no, he can play, guys.
yeah.
So definitely exciting to see what happens with this rookie class. So I also wanted to talk about, the idea of what this show is going to be and interaction with the fans, and we kind of want to get to know you guys a little bit. And I wanted to ask you, growing up, like, I want to talk about our love for the team. Like, why do you love the 49ers? What are your favorite moments that you can be 70 years old and you'll be like, I remember that
I
time.
mean, first and foremost, you remember the 95 Super Bowl win. I was like 10 years old. I remember sitting there. They won the Super Bowl because I was raised as a Niner fan from my dad, and it was either you like the Niners or you get kicked out of the house, basically. So I love the Niners.
Same.
So I remember that Super Bowl because I kept telling everybody Steve Young's the man. He's going to get the job done. He's going to take this team to the. And everybody doubted Steve back in those days, and everybody wanted Santana.
Sure.
There was the quarterback controversy. Like,
But he had never done
yeah,
it
he
though.
had.
He
But
had
I
never
believe I
done
was
it.
a young kid. I love Steve Young because he was different. He was different. I was like, oh, I love his game, the running, and it's different, right? I was like, this guy is special. And everybody was hating Steve, and I was like, why do they hate this guy? I like him. He's on the team. Like that was my vibe. I was like, I love Steve Young, and everybody, of course, Joe Montana. I was younger, so I didn't really get grasp the concept maybe enough of Steve Young took this team and made them a dynasty. Like now I get it. But as a young kid, 10 years old, I was like, Steve Young is the new wave. This is the guy. He's the trending. Like this is the guy. This is who they want. So I fully rode Steve Young. My dad was so pissed. He was like, "Oh fuck, Steve Young's a bum. Can't believe they got rid of Joe Montana." And I told him, I said, Steve's gonna win a Super Bowl with this team. Just watch. And every game they were winning. I was so excited because I was rooting my boy Steve. That was my favorite player growing up. He like made me love this team. Him and Jerry Rice. And when they won that Super Bowl, I remember having my young jersey. Oh, I didn't take that damn thing off for weeks because I was rubbing it in everybody's face. I told my dad. My dad was like, "Oh, you told us." I was like, "I told you." And I remember my mom tried to get that jersey off me. I would never take it off. She finally somehow got it. I was sleeping. She took it off. And I was so sad because I said, "You washed the championship off the team." I remember telling her that. And here we are, many years later. They haven't won a Super Bowl because my mom watched the championship off the Niners. So that was one of my favorite memories. So if anybody out there in the Niner Empire wants to blame someone for the Niners not winning a Super Bowl, it's my mom. You can blame her. Don't worry, she'll take full blame. Other than
All
that,
right.
though, my dad was the reason I became a Niner fan. I was a huge fan because of him. I had the posters, everything. Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated would come in every 2 weeks or whatever. I'd flip the pages, find something Niners, take it out, put it on my wall. My wall was like covered with Niners. And unfortunately, he passed away many years back. But my biggest memories as a Niner fan was every year he would say, "Okay, circle a game on the calendar. Me and you are going. Nobody else. Not my sister. Not my mom. Nobody. Is just me and my dad. We'd go down to San Francisco. We'd have a cool day the day before. We'd play tourist in the city. We'd take the BART and all that stuff, all the cool tourist stuff. Go down to the pier, have
Yeah.
some food, and then the next day, oh, Fisherman's Wharf, all that stuff. Go to the park, Dolores Park, do all the cool stuff, and then the next day we'd go to the Candlestick Park, watch the game, watch the Niners. It was a great time, just me and him, and then we'd fly back Monday sometime in the day, and then I'd have a day off of school, and be hyped up. Niners win a game. It was a cool weekend every year, man. For like 8, 9 years we did that. It was fun, man. And then he passed away, unfortunately. So when I made this page, I was like, what do I want to do something that my dad would always be happy of, and the 49ers were his favorite team. So I said, hey, I'll make OurSf49ers because it's our team, and I want to do something to kind of pay him homage. And many years later, we got a big platform. So here we are.
Yeah, that is so awesome, and he would be so proud to see the engagement that you have here with the fans, and it's why I'm here as well, and I'm excited to help bring this content for the fans as it is our SF49ers. And so that is a lot like me as well. I was born and raised in San Jose, and for sure that's Niner country, as well as the full Bay Area. And so just remember watching playoff games and thinking that the 49ers automatically get to play in the playoffs because you don't know when you're a kid. You mentioned you were 10 years old. So I'm only 4 years older than you. So I'm still a kid and watching the fog game in Chicago and watching these playoff games against the Giants and all this stuff. I thought back then that we just got an automatic bid. And I used to think the Super Bowl was the San Francisco Invitational, you might as well call it, because I just didn't understand. You're a little kid, you're going to these Super Bowl parties. You go to a Super Bowl party even if your team isn't in it. But when you're little, your
Yeah.
team's always in it. So it's, it was just interesting. And so I hate to say you fall in love with a team the more that they win, but
No.
that is the case. I mean, it makes them more popular. And so it helped my maturation as a fan for sure. But now that I live in the Midwest, I love going to road games. And so the game last year in Detroit, week one, the it's just different. It's not playoff vibe, but it's like, like in the springtime when everyone thinks they have a chance to have a good summer. It's spring, it's opening week is like that. And even in Detroit, where they are terrible, everyone's in a good mood because no one has lost the game yet. You have a big goose egg in the loss column until you play us. Then you're 0-1. But Detroit was very fan friendly, very good people. They're down to earth. They were very gracious hosts. And we had 10th row seats, was amazing. Got to see Trey Lance's first NFL touchdown. That was amazing. And that's one of my memories that I'll take for forever because it was the game that my both my parents and I went to. So that was an amazing time. I don't know what the last 8 minutes of that game was because we were just decided to get on the bus early. But the game was great, and I laughed at Jared Goff the entire game, as did Lions fans, and it was great. So those are some of my moments. Now, another thing that we want to do with this show, guys, is just kind of have some fun. And we talked about road trips. And so, Raj, I kind of wanted to ask you, have you taken some fun road trips, with your family or with your daughter? And what do you have a go-to list? Like, okay, queue up my Spotify, get my playlist ready. Like, we're about to rock out for a couple hours and just, listen to some music. What do you
Yeah,
have?
man. I go on a lot of, actually last year we went on a lot of road games. Me and my crew that we go with, the Road Dogs. Shout out to them. Like we went to. I mean, we went to the playoff game against Dallas. We also went to Levi South out in SoFi Stadium for the championship game. Uh, talk about,
Levi South.
but the Dallas Cowboy game was such a fun game to go to. Like I'll tell you what, man, that stadium very well done, very well put together. Jerry's World, he might be a crazy kooky guy, but he knows what he's doing in the football world. That was a fun time traveling. But my any Niners song out there, Niners anthem, Travis Scott or Travis King, he's got a song, Niner Faithful, 49er Faithful, right? Whatever. Like all the Niner songs, man, there's some great people in the Niner community that put together Niner songs. Like that one song, Nick Bosa, coming at your neck like Nick Bosa. Like those songs, they get you pumped, man. I love those Niner songs. So we have like a track of all of them. We'll throw them on and we'll just listen to like all of them in a row. And we're just like jump jonesing for some Niner football. So that's what we do. We get all the Niner songs, man, like all the cool Bay Area, Niner kind of song, E40, Pilo. We just get all the Bay Area songs and we just let it roll and we just feel like okay we feel like we're part of that invasion. We're gonna come over and take over your stadium. And Niner fans travel so well, man. I was like, crap, see a
Unreal.
red everywhere. Every time I've been to a road game, just see a red. So I love seeing the Niner fans out there. I see a lot. They recognize me, and I always say what's up. So if you're out there this year and you see me, don't be shy. Say what's up. Shake my hand, take a picture, pick me up, throw me up, whatever you want to do. I only weigh 125 pounds soaking wet. So, have some fun. Let's get some entertainment out there. But yeah, man, it's fun times. But you're absolutely right. Week one, everybody feels like they got a chance to win the Super Bowl. So I can't wait. That vibe
For
is like
sure.
you're like, okay, this is our year until it's not. But hopefully this year is our year.
for sure. Week 1, I hope to see you in Chicago, man. I have plans to go catch the Giants, beat the Cubs first on a Saturday, and then on Sunday we take care of business in Soldier Field and start off 1-0. So, well, I wanted to thank you guys. Make sure you are interactive with Raj. So, Raj, make sure you let everyone know where they can catch you and where the best places
Yep.
to
So,
engage with you.
the YouTube here, OurSf49ers. We got Twitter, OurSf49ers, and Instagram, OurSf49ers. I made it pretty easy. We keep the same name everywhere, so you don't have to think about it. Oh,
Yep.
OurSf49ers, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And any social media network, just type in OurSf49ers. Maybe I might have one. Maybe, I didn't know he has a Twitter. Oh, I didn't know he has a TikTok.
Oh, right.
So just always be on the lookout, man. So our SF49ers.
Yes,
and I appreciate you, man, helping me out. And let's get this going at them. And it's going to be a fun year, man. Let's get it rolling.
Yep, I'm excited. So for Raj, I am Adam. We wish a very 62nd happy birthday to Roger Craig. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame. So with that, we will say deuces for Niner Nation. Peace.